Film in Therapy and Education by Leila. Albert Einstein once wrote in a letter to his 11-year-old son Hans Albert in 1915 saying, "That is the way to learn the most, when you are doing something with such enjoyment that you don't notice that the time passes." This is the research question that will be answered in the next few slides. How can film be therapeutic and educational? Here are some definitions and terms that are significant. Film, a story or event recorded by a camera as a set of moving images and shown in the cinema or on television. Therapy, the treatment of mental or psychological disorders by psychological means. Education, the process of receiving and giving systematic instruction and enlightening experience. Introduction. Films surpass barriers and people's differences like culture, language, religion, geographic borders, belief systems. They're made for everyone to see and identify with, no matter where you come from or what your background is. Films include characters, story, signs, words, images, gestures, performance, music, dialogue, lighting, and much more elements that all have a significant effect on the viewers in terms of education and therapy as they come to life and come to have meaning to them. Films conjure deep feelings in viewers, which lead to personal reflection and a new perspective on external events as they start to identify with the film and its characters. This is the outline. To start, film in therapy. Film is a tool in therapy where enjoyment and education are kind of combined together to make an ideal atmosphere for therapeutic culture. Films provide a shared experience for many people by addressing widespread concerns like fears and prejudice and nurturing aspirations, and get us to look at things in new and different ways. They might investigate challenging political, moral, economic, or religious issues by questioning gender relations or pointing a finger at sexism, maybe, or racism, homophobia, and social or economic injustices. Themes in a movie can serve as a metaphor, enabling the client to understand his or her life better from like an observing perspective, which leads to patients identifying themselves in the film and activating the path to personal healing. So according to my sources, film therapy is a creative therapeutic involvement in which a therapist uses film as a metaphorical tool to promote self-exploration, personal healing, and transformation. On this slide, it shows two movies that can be used as therapeutic films. Bended Like Beckham, done in 2003, is a film about overcoming challenges. So people can watch it to overcome their own challenges. Billy Elliot in 2000 is a film about self-esteem. So one could watch it to build their own self-esteem and become more comfortable with themselves. Film as therapy. Film, so there are many ways in which film can be used as therapy, some of which are couples therapy, self-therapy, and therapy for people with intellectual disabilities or mental disorders. In couples therapy, films are used in shaping proper relations and bonds between partners for issues such as fear of engagement, sustaining a long-term relationship, or control and power struggles. By depicting life problems with use of film materials, the subjects are able to look deeper into the structure of their own problems and speak more openly about them. Self-help or self-therapy can be done by an individual who wishes to work on themselves using film. They start to identify with the characters and their issues, sometimes seeing them as their own. And whilst watching the character's heroic ending, igniting self-growth within themselves. As for therapy for people with intellectual disabilities and mental disorders, film can be used as therapy to change patterns and take on new roles in life. It also helps to raise the awareness of oneself and one's relationship with others, which is done by identifying themselves with the story or characters. It also makes it possible to identify sources of problems and ways of solving them. It allows them to identify their own dreams and needs as well. Furthermore, the film releases blocked feelings in a safe way, providing an opportunity to work on difficult topics indirectly without encountering resistance from those undergoing therapy. It helps to realize that personal problems are universal, that this kind of therapy helps to rebuild bonds and reduces the sense of loneliness when dealing with a given problem, as it influences both emotions and intellect. A film during psychotherapy can activate processes of self-discovery or confrontation with difficulties. An example of my last point is Agnes of God, a movie done in 1985. It's a therapeutic film for people with mental illness, and it can help them, as said before, self-discover themselves and work on themselves. Film as education. Short films can be used successfully for school and university students. They can provide students with a storytelling skill, which enables them with the ability to perceive their surroundings and events. And according to studies found, students are better taught their lectures by films rather than verbal lecture. Considering that the students were able to focus completely on a lecture for 16 to 20 minutes at most during the class hour, using film attracts attention for a much longer time. In detail, the university students were able to remember 70% of what had been taught in the first 10 minutes and only 20% of what had been taught within the last minutes of the lecture when it's done verbally. But when watching an educational film, students remembered 80% in the first half and 50% towards the end. So it's much more. Moreover, short films are effective and useful as they improve the memorization and the comprehension of students. It enables them to remember their subjects easily and creates expression prosperity. It also supports creative thinking, as educational films are short and straight to the point, which keeps the focus on a desired subject. Also, when students get used to think with visual and movable images about the subject, it starts to enhance the knowledge. Therefore, the need for repetition during the class hours reduces heavily and long-term remembering occurs. Additionally, the power of observation increases due to active participation and the skill of the student to evaluate human relations, interpret the mutual interaction of the individual and the society relationships, and establish the cause and effect relation increases. Here are two films that are very educational. Cube, done in 1997, is an educational film for math students. And Inside Job, done in 2010, is an educational documentative film for finance students. And they can both be watched for educational purposes. So, film as education for the disabled and mentally ill. Creativity should be an important element of the education process of people with disabilities and mental disorders because they're fully capable of creative processes and effort and involvement in artistic activities. And it even makes it simpler and easier for them to learn things. And it's essential for the proper development of skills of children, young people, and adults with different types and degrees of disability or mental disorders. Upbringing and therapy that ignore creativity become poor and insufficient. Additionally, films become a link between the outside and the inside world, as it enables patients to reflect upon themselves and realize personal problems can be seen in other people or in other forms as in they're not alone in the world with these problems. And also visuals are processed faster than words, and to them words are abstract. So films make it easier to connect words and their meanings, making it very educational for them to watch a film. Two examples of um, educational films for disabled and mentally ill people is A Beautiful Mind, done in 2011. It's about a paranoid schizophrenic just living life. And the main character has paranoid schizophrenia, and the film offers an inside and authentic analysis of his feelings and distress, and is compassionate and understanding towards him, which shows that people with mental illness aren't freaks and they can go on to live normal lives. And the next one is Binny and June, done in 1993. It's about a schizophrenic as well in a romantic relationship. So June is the main character, and she is a schizophrenia, and it shows a mentally ill person in a romantic relationship, and it's very inspirational as people with progressive disabilities or mental disorders frequently are considered um, unable to be in a wholesome romantic relationship, and this movie shows that it can happen and it does happen. So it's very inspirational and educational for people like that. So, in conclusion, film is a tool in therapy that provides a common experience and leads to personal healing. And there are three types of film therapy that I talk about: couple therapy, self therapy, and therapy for intellectual disabilities and mental disorders. Those can be educational and aid in establishing significant skills. And film can be educational for mentally ill and disabled as it utilizes creativity. And creativity is probably the most important aspect of educating a mentally ill and disabled person. In my opinion, film is the best and easiest way to learn because it's not time consuming. It's straight to the point. It's interesting. It's creative. It's well done. Yeah, it grasps people's attention as well. Like when I'm watching a film, I'm watching the film. I could probably answer any question about the film right after because my attention has never been lost throughout the whole movie. Um, and also film can be used successfully as therapy, and I myself have done so like a couple of times. When I'm feeling down, I watch a happy movie. When I'm feeling in a romantic mood, I watch a romantic movie. Or when I even have like questions that are unanswered about specific things going on in my life, I watch a movie that could help me realize these issues. So this is the part of presentation where I will accept questions and answers. And these are the references that I've used throughout this presentation. Thank you very much. This is the end of my presentation.